I'm going to be reviewing Gangs of Zion by Ron Stallworth. Uh, he was the same author, well, the same person who inspired the film Black Klansman. Black Klansman was inspired by another book that Mr. Stallworth did. What the title of that book is, I'm not sure. I've never read it, but I heard about the Gangs of Zion on an NPR interview, and I thought it sounded interesting, so I placed a request for it. Um, One of the things that I found interesting is that his whole law enforcement career, and it kind of like I've never read Black Klansman, but it leads me to believe that in Black Klansman there's not so much of his life story in it, because in this book there's like various elements of his life story. Um, how he got into law enforcement, uh, which is a small part, and then mostly about his trials and tribulations in Utah with the gang task force, and then what happened afterward. But I just thought it was interesting about how he got into law enforcement. Kind of like he mm, was looking for a job, and his family basically encouraged him to go ahead and why not apply for the Colorado Springs Police Department, because he grew up in um, El Paso, Texas. Um, but after the Colorado Springs Black Klansman investigation, he continued on in that department in the undercover drug police business, and he went to different western states. He was in Wyoming for a bit, but this book, the majority of it is about his experience in Utah. In Utah, um, he started to notice, as an undercover drug person, that there started to be a gang problem in the state, which he felt that different officials were ignoring. Um, and what was interesting about the whole gang issue is that in the western states, Utah, California, not that far away, but what in his own words, what bring the gang problem from LA to Utah is a program called the Job Corps. The Job Corps is a program for young kids who may, for whatever reason, not be interested in traditional high school college path. Um, Job Corps has different facilities across the United States where a young person could go live on campus and learn a trade and not have to like go to college. But in Stallworth's investigation, he finds that the different job corps across the country are they're all together. They're run the Department of Education, if I remember correctly, but they're not all managed together. They're in some ways independently managed, and this one particular job corps that serves Utah, that one of the grounds of recruitment for them was in Compton, California, and that area there's a lot of gang activity. The Bloods and the Crips, and basically the some of the gang members who are coming are finding Utah as kind of like a ripe drug potential, like breeding ground, like for money. And with that whole activity, they bring their gang culture. And the interesting thing that happens too is that they start to inspire like white gangs in the area to emulate that lifestyle. So where some of them are starting to affiliate with both the Bloods and the Crips, But apparently, an interesting thing too about Mormonism in Utah is that Polynesia, there's like a subset of Polynesians who've been converted to Mormonism, and some of them are in Utah. You know, I guess 'cause a lot of them want to go to Salt Lake City. It's seen as kind of like a holier place for them. I mean, he doesn't like elaborate on it too much. He's not a religious person, but he just knows a little bit about the church. But some of these Polynesian gangs are also affiliated with either like the Bloods or the Crips. Um, it was interesting reading about his whole adventures. Because I didn't know this, but apparently in the 90s he testified before Congress uh, about the whole gangster rap phenomena. Because in Stallworth's own words, is that gangster rap, it's not really kind of like something bad in of itself, but it's an artistic expression of the community's sense of disenfranchisement and oppression, disenfranchisement and depression. Um, but one of the reasons he was testifying to Congress about it is because some members of Congress and other community activists basically kind of wanted to ban gangster rap outright. And one funny story is that he and his partner are visiting a concert by Ice Cube, and according to Mr. Stallworth, like off the start, that Ice Cube is kind of clocks him for like law enforcement, and he he confirms it himself. He said, I'm a police officer, but he's able to talk with Ice Cube on a certain level about. He was talking to Ice Cube because he needed some information about for his own report to testify before Congress, and that was just an interesting interaction that happened. And he brings it up in the book. Some of the things I liked. I'm a public servant, public service employee as well, and he's talking about some of the the red tape he runs into about it. In some ways, like you have to convince different people, different officials if you see like a problem. Sometimes they may not feel the same way, or I think he kind of took it personally. I mean, I guess I can see how. I mean, if you read the book about some of the people, the way they're treating him, but it's kind of like if it's not a big problem to them, or if they don't want to rile the public about certain issues, they won't. Only if there's a public outcry or something like that happens where they'll react. But Mr. Stallworth wants these officials to be more not active, not reactive, but active. Like, and it really neat. Like some of the neat things about his police work is that he mentions that he feels like a large portion of it should be prevention, and that you're going out in the community talking to these people, kids basically, and trying to like tell them like, hey, this is not a good vibe for you. You need to like do something else. Sometimes some people, and you read about it in the book, like some of the people who he interacted with who maybe heard him and understood, and others that didn't. One thing that I really liked about the book was that he was, well, I thought it was kind of funny that he was talking about his pension. That apparently, what he did before he officially retired, he found out that if the last year of working, that he could pay into the retirement fund and retire early. Like when I read that, I was like, what? Because I'm not sure what their pension plans are in Utah, but the one I'm with, it's public service, so it made me want to look. I mean, I'm not too close to retirement, but I'm not too far away from it either. But it made me think, oh, maybe I could look into that too. But I guess one of the criticisms I have of the book is that uh, I feel like that some of the things he talked about at the beginning and the end, like, really didn't have as much to do with the his like a black cops crusade in Mormon country. Didn't have to do about that really. Were about his personal life, and I mean it wasn't that big of a like thing that put me off of it. It was enjoyable to read about it. But if you're just looking into an entire book about that issue, just know that small portions of it are not about that. They're about his personal life. And I guess one thing that really bothered me is that he, according to him, in some ways he like physically intimidated Boots Riley. Boots Riley made a criticism about Mr. Stallworth and the whole Black Klansman movie because of apparently in the movie or in real life he infiltrated a black student union group, and according to Mr. Stallworth, it's not. It wasn't that big. It wasn't. It was like a small thing that he did. He didn't warrant any like further investigation into that, but that's according to him. But I didn't like reading about when he met Boots Riley at the one of the movie awards or premieres for Black Klansmen, that he basically kind of like grabbed onto him, brought him close, and like used his physical strength to kind of like intimidate him. And that I mean it is what it is, but it just bothered me that he would use that for that purpose rather than trying to like because at the end of the day, I mean, each of them have their own opinion, I guess, but I don't know. I mean, it's about him, so. But yeah, if you, it was a really good read though. He had someone help him write the book, and he mentions her. I don't remember her name, but yeah, it was really readable. No part really like lagged to me. So I mean, if you want to give it a read, it's like a kind of categorized as true crime. I would recommend picking up Black Klansman. I mean, Black Klansman. The Gangs of Zion. All right, take care.